Here I have with me today is Michael Crawford Hick. He is a Paralympic photographer. He has as he'll tell you, he has a functional neurological disorder, and so episodes related to that has inspired him to become Paralympic photographer. So, hi, Michael. Over to you.
Hello.
Could you tell us a bit about yourself, your
Yes.
journey?
Hello, Sharon. Um, I
Thank
am
you.
a world traveler, engineer, etc. In my past lives, I've gone all over the world, taking photographs and on business trips to make robotic machines. But recently, basically in the late 1990s, I was working for the underground, and then I got fed up, and they made me redundant, believe it or not. And I had to find something else to do. But I was floating around from different jobs to different jobs, and I wasn't happy with my life. So I went traveling. Um, After roughly 4.5 years out of the country, because I went to France for 2 weeks holiday and stayed there for 3 years, and then went traveling in Asia and Malaysia for 18 months. Came back broke, rebuilt my life, and then I went on another adventure around the world, this time much more planned. But you can see I just don't want to be in one place at one all the time. I can't do a 9 to 5 job now. So when I came back that second time, I worked for the post office, just sorting parcels at a Christmas event. And they liked my work and asked me to stay on. So I did that for 5 years. It was good money, easy work, but I was still dreaming of something else. And come April 2022, I was at Waterloo Station. I was having breakfast at about 8 p.m. And at 8:09, I went to grab another drink for my backpack and I fell to the floor. And it was, oh, I can't get up. I've got no power in my arms, my legs, my waist. Luckily, a contractor, Kate, was walking past. He said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Nope." And they got me an ambulance. It looked like a stroke. So I was slurring my speech. I had left sided weakness. So they blue lighted me to King's College, London. They did massive load of tests, but at this time I still can't walk. I've got no power in the legs. I was regaining arm power, but even when they put me on the CT scanner, they said, "Can you scoot across?" I said, "No, there was not enough power." So four of them had to push me across.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Yes, four people. But when you're in resus area and you come in on blue lights on an ambulance thing, it's just like the documentaries of any A&E show, and there's lots of people around you. When I first went in, there are two healthcare assistants who just like look after your well-being, make sure you get a drink or whatever that. Then there's at least one junior doctor who looks after you, what's happening. Then there's nurses, there's people taking blood, and then you hear the two or three consultants at the end of your bed, but outside the curtain, discussing what they find once they've examined you. So I think there was about 8 to 10 people, and I have no
Oh, wow, you
idea.
had a fair
Yeah,
amount of people with you then.
and it's so confusing with that so many people around you. But as they show on the TV series, everybody has a specific job to do. That's why they can get things done quickly. Within 10, maybe 15 minutes of me being in resus, I was on my way to CT to have a couple of scans. And I didn't even see the CT lady's face. Um, I was just so confused and a bit dazed. and I just closed my eyes and let them do whatever they needed to do. Um, we came back in, and they said, "Oh, it's not a stroke, so you can put the special TPA fluid away, which cures most mini strokes within 90 minutes, and you can go home the next day."
Okay.
It wasn't a stroke, but they said, "We got to do some more investigation." That means an MRI, a new set of blood tests, well, a lot of blood tests. You're being admitted. So they within 45 minutes of me walking in the door, I heard that. Well, I said, "That's good, because I can't walk anyway." And basically, the physiotherapists got me up on day 4 and see if I could walk halfway around the ward. And the answer was I could, but with 3 stops. And they
Yeah.
said, "That's good from not walking." I still had lots of spasms, um, and a lot of other problems with it. Pain is the big one. And I was fit enough, according to them, to go home on day 5. But then you say you get home and you've got this condition. You say, "Well, what's next?" They leave you high and dry to a certain degree. And they gave me 2 websites to look at, which was FND Hope and neurosymptoms.org. It tells you about the condition, but not how you can have to control it or whatever. And I found out later that there's hardly any information out there for the people with FND. That goes on to another story in a minute. So it's not like if you've got cancer or something like that, there are support networks already set up. For FND, there's nothing really. But
Well, that must have been quite scary at the time then. And it's still
yes,
quite new to you.
it's your life has just been turned upside down, inside out, and you've been shaken.
Yeah.
When I tried to walk to the shops to get some milk in the following days, it was like, what the heck has hit me? I can't walk straight. I'm doing all these spasms. And I said, well, how the heck am I going to live my life? But then I remembered I was given some mental health therapy at the hospital. One session with this psychiatrist. We discussed various options. And he said, you need to grieve your old life because you can't do what you used to do or anything before 8 o'clock on that Sunday. And I said, okay. He said, go for some mental health therapy. I said, yes, okay. And with that, chatting to my doctor on too many occasions, but she was absolutely brilliant on how to help me with my pain, and she had time for me. Then I went to see a neurologist around the September time, and he put the nail in the coffin. He said, "You've got FND, and there's nothing you can do about it." So that's a definitive. Oh, what the heck
It's
next?
very concrete, that, isn't it?
Yes, he was a German doctor, and they give it to you straight. The Germans are very
Yeah.
precise, and so I sort of thank him, and then you walk home and you're in a daze, and you say, "Okay, what now?" And I I'm not a person to sit at home doing nothing. I always want to be out with friends or just going out in general.
Mm.
And then I said, I love my photography, but I can't do my normal sports photography of sailing, jet skis, etc., because it needs a lot of movement on the water, or I've got to walk on sand, rocks. I can't do that now. I can hardly keep myself upright. But I did say, hang on a minute, I can sit by the edge of a court or a track and photograph the people in front of me. And then it realized, well, I am disabled. Let's go and find disabled sports. And at that time, the World Cup was happening. And could I find anything? No, because all their competitions had been shut down early just because of the World Cup. But I looked at the photography of the various sports, and there was so little coverage of disabled athletes doing sports. or where I did see it, I said, the quality is so low. I mean, me on my worst day with a migraine, tired, thirsty, I could do better almost. And I
Wow.
sort of said, if I can do that, I've got to do something. And then I came across a seminar. I said, access for disabled sports. I said, oh, that sounds interesting. They said it's free and it got a free lunch. So I said, okay, I'll go along.
That's incentive enough, isn't it?
Yes, I met a few people, but it was what Gemma Stevenson, who's a lawn tennis wheelchair coach and athlete, she said, we were talking about access via BBC, ITV, Channel 4, etc. They don't have enough time or money to cover all the disability sports. You know, it's just physically impossible. But she said, we do. And I sort of said, well, how? And she said, we've got YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and your own website. And she went on. I said, oh, this is where I said, I can set that up for next to nothing because most of those platforms are free. So, and then I had the brainwave of my company name and now the website name, the Disability Sports Network. So that idea came to me about 5-10 minutes before lunch. While she was there, I checked up my domain provider for other stuff, and oh, it's available. Before I was doing this while she was talking, and I said, okay, yes, I'll finish listening to Gemma. And then as we were going to lunch, I checked the spelling and I just hit buy. So I bought a domain name there and then. I was having so many ideas that I could help promote disabled sports. When I got home, I then secured all the LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, all the handles necessary. And the next day, then I bought a website, or the web space, should I say. 7 days later, I had a working website with stock images. When I launched it on the 7th day, I had 30 visitors instantly.
Wow,
And
that's amazing.
yes, I did shout out about it before, a little bit on Twitter and Instagram, saying this is coming. But then if I look through the next 2 months, there was 30 visitors a day for the next 2 months, 30 visitors, and it started to grow. And I shot my first wheelchair game on day 8. And I got some amazing shots. And I said, well, I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's been a little bit of hit and miss. But what I found is it was meant to be, because opportunities and money for the next step have come in at the 11th hour or the day before you need it, or somebody said we can do this or that. The exhibition stand I've booked for Disability Expo, which is no longer available, I committed to £600 plus VAT in the end of March, and I had no way of knowing if I could afford that. I wasn't working, but I just said, I've got to do it. And money did come in at the 11th hour, and I did it. And other opportunities came. But from the Disability Expo, there was a lot of people saying, wow, we need this photography. I've done a few small events and I had a few other big ones lined up. But they kept telling me that we need to see better photographs and we want you to do more.
I suppose it's all about representation, isn't it? Especially like you were saying that earlier, how the media coverage is very low quality.
Yes.
Getting you in there is that representation, isn't getting more people and seeing what these disabled events are like, really
Yes.
promoting it.
The idea was to show the person rather than the game or event. It took me a while to work that one out. but it was, I think it started to creep in when I was doing the International Blind Games. Because when I saw that, I said, well, how do blind people do sports? That was the question I had on my mind. And I could work out most of them, but blind football, how the heck do they do it? And it's basically bells in a ball on a very fixed size pitch. And it's more interesting than the standard 11-a-side football you get. And I was enjoying this from day one or minute one. It was, oh, this is different. This is not normal football, because it's more like rugby football, because there's a lot more physical contact. And all these
Yeah.
guys are either partially blind, fully blind, or some errors on their eyesight, which is B1, 2, and 3. But they all wear eye masks, so they bring them all up to the same level. So you can actually go and play blind football. You just put a mask on and you can
Even
go and
without being
play.
blind.
Yes. Not an
Wow.
int-
Do you know, that would be an experience. I,
yes.
I, I work as a teacher, and I work with someone who's a PSHE teacher, and that would be a great disability lesson for him to do.
Yes, it's you've got you can go and see this online or through my photography, but you can't do it at international level. But a school doing it, yes, to make that other person inclusive would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because everybody in the world wants to play football of some kind. You know, there's billions. You know, the common factor is if you go into a foreign country and you just bring a football, you'll have a crowd in minutes, regardless of their ability.
Yeah.
So it's something that you can bring in very easily. There's blind archery. There's yeah, that's a bit dangerous, but there's blind cricket. There's rules for that, and blind chess and all sorts of other things. But my eyes were opened at that games, and then I realized I'm seeing it from a disabled person's point of view, and I was concentrating on the action and trying to keep that in the whole frame, trying to keep out all the distractions of the side people, the crowd, etc. So you're concentrating on the person or the multiple people. And I just asked if I could go along to that from the organizers. And they just said, yeah, we would love you to come along. Okay. I spent 6, 7 days up in Birmingham, and it was very hot that summer. And then I was asking if I could go to the Invictus Games, because that's famous with Prince Harry and all the military people. This time it was in Germany. I said, oh, what if I can afford to go to Germany? The answer is the money came in at the right time, and I got a pass to go in for 2 days because that's all I could afford to do. But then I met the people from Nikon. There's a reason for this. Is I had a new camera, but not the new lenses. There's some technical differences, and they let me borrow 2 brand new Z series lenses for the Nikon, about £2,500 worth. And I said, thank you very much. And they said, you can borrow them for the time you're here, 2 days. Get to use them. They're brilliant. And I came back with such amazing results. But then I could see the detail in the people's faces where they're lifting off the ground in the wheelchair rugby or basketball, or even the track. I think I've got 4 runners on a 200-meter thing, and I think most of their feet are off the ground,
How did
and
you
it's
find
pinch up. How did I
how
find?
did you find taking pictures of these people? Because obviously you're saying a lot about trying to focus on the person. Is there anything in those events that really sort of made you think,
Well,
yeah, I want to be photoing this person?
it's the thing is there. it's very hard to explain. But when I show them the photographs, they look at it and say, okay, wow. And the organizers or various people have said, Michael, these are amazing. Now, I'm not used to having my photographs praised like this by all sorts of people, because I did a lot of networking to try and find the right groups and the right contacts. And I brought a few of these along in the latter part of 2023. And people were saying, Michael, these are beautiful. Keep doing what you're doing. Technically, they were perfect. And it just takes a long time for you to realize people are really, they're sincere. But these are different groups of people. So it wasn't just one person of my friends saying, oh, they're good. No, I had a couple of other photographers who criticized it. Well, he looked at them, he said, I can't see anything wrong with these. He was looking for
Wow.
fault. He was looking for faults. And then 6 months down the line, I showed him some new ones. He said, I admire your work. So I've waited all my life to find my niche in photography. And now it's disabled sports. And now I have been to the Paralympics, which was a surprise for me, should I say, because I missed the first round of press passes and things. But I kept on at them with very gentle emails. What's happening? Is there any possibility of a press pass, etc.? You know, nothing strong, just little nice reminders.
It's
And
nudges.
then, yes, and then in May of this year, I got the email through on a Thursday at just after 10 o'clock sometime in the morning. And it was a very simple, it wasn't anything, it was just like an email you and I would send to each other. Oh, here you are. I hope you're happy with this. I've granted you a press pass. And I said, oh, wow, thank you, Kate. It was, but I had to wait about 8 hours because I was too high on cloud nine. I couldn't do anything for those 8 hours, 8 or 9 hours or something like that. It was just, oh, I'm going to the Paralympics. I mean, this is huge, you know,
So it's
within
not
eight,
your everyday experience, is it?
no. And it took me about a week, 10 days to actually fully process it. And then starting to think about booking a hotel, booking travel, and then doing the research on what's going to happen at the Paralympics. And unfortunately, if you're an Olympic photographer, there's tons of information out. But on the Paralympic side, there's not a lot. So I was scratching around for details, and they didn't push out all the information until about 2 months before the thing. And there's me trying to promote that I'm going out to the Paralympics, telling people, and I'm getting lots of encouragement, etc. And I'm doing the research, hours of it, and I'm putting, I think, unexpected pressure on me. So when I got there, getting there and getting your accreditation, I've done that at various other events. That was a bit of a low. But then the next day, I went to Team GB House for a press meeting or a media meeting. And then you start to meet, I actually met the person who granted my press pass. And it was just, oh, wow, thank you very much. You know, and that was all I had to say to her. It was just amazing. You met various people who did, there's a different media person for each sport. And I met a lot of those people. And then the next day is the opening ceremony. And it goes from there. It was it's the experience of wondering. I've wanted to do this since the 80s, to go to an
Yeah.
Olympic Games. But I didn't think I wasn't good enough in the 80s with film. You know, I wasn't in one of the press agencies or in the right place, should I say.
It's
Um,
amazing to think that um it was after having this life-changing event that you managed to go out and pursue that dream.
Yes,
Um,
but
yeah,
I credit that to my doctor actually saying, Michael, she's seen so many people spiral down from a life-changing event, whatever it might be, losing a leg or arm or whatever.
yeah.
And she said, Michael, you're doing amazingly well, from what I've seen, you know. And I tell her everything, and she said, no, 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 you're doing far better than a lot of other people. So she knows a lot more, and she wouldn't tell me, and I don't really want to know. But then I see all these athletes at their best in performing in front of me at the top of the world stage. And I believe the Channel 4 coverage was amazing. And they got so many people watching it and just being interested in it. And then I was getting to photograph these things. There's possibility of you see me there in various events with some yellow headphones, because you've got the audience of 10, 20, 40,000 people shouting and screaming at the game in session. And there's some music, and I use the headphones to try and drown out all that information so that I can concentrate on the photography. Um, and now I know what a games of that event are. The next one in LA in 2028 is going to be a lot easier because you know what's coming, should I say. Because I had no idea that every time you go into one of these events, you've got at least 20,000 people cheering. I mean, that's phenomenal.
That is
Um,
absolutely amazing. I just
thank
want to
you.
go back to when you're saying about when you first were diagnosed, your time with therapists and stuff, and you're saying the potential to re-spiral, but you managed to almost spiral up in a way. And mindset's a big thing in that, really. So, how did you use like your mindset to help you? I don't even know if it's out of that, but to do that spiral up.
Well, I had some very long conversations with the consultant on the ward, and this lady, she asked me lots of questions, and I gave her lots of answers, actually, more answers than she needed. But which it sounds odd, but she actually, at the end, on the 5 days as I was leaving, she said, thank you for being so candid about your conditions and what led up to it. But she said, now is your time to ask for help. So the psychiatrist I spoke to, he said, you've got to go and get some help as well. But she said, it's now time just for you to sit back and ask for help, whether that's from your GP, an occupational therapist, or just go and get help. Whatever you need, she said, the help is out there. And basically, she said, I could work out a treatment plan or a release plan for you in the hospital because of all the information you gave me. So you go home and you're thinking about that. Well, okay, the first 1 or 2 weeks is a bit of a blur, but then I realized I need help. So just going back on the words of this consultant, I looked up mental health therapies, chatted to my doctor, and said I booked it. I don't know when it's going to come through. She said, that's good. That's a good start. And it was from then, there's basically about 4 months as you're going through this therapy, trying to work out what your purpose in life was. Because I don't believe necessarily I believe in fate or coincidences. Something had to happen for me to go on to do something different. And I think just because I had unbiased professionals talk to me, they didn't know me from Adam. or Eve or whatever, and they told me what to do. And the mental health therapy, which I've written about on my blog, or one of my blogs, should I say, it helped me get out all the stuff that was going around in my head. You know, oh, what happened at this appointment, or what happened at that hospital, etc., etc. And how do I cope on a day-to-day basis? Actually, putting that down so other people can read it. And I asked the FND Twitter community, which was quite active. It's a bit slower now, but would you like to hear from day one what happened? And she said, yes, they've all said yes. I think there's about 10 or 15 people said, yes, please do it. So I wrote them a blog with 5 entries. And that first day, we got over 450 reads of those 5 blogs. I said, oh, okay. But that's amazing. And then I was getting 250 to 300 reads for the next week or two. And I started putting more stuff on there. And then I got little emails back at the beginning from actually the therapist saying, Michael, this is such an amazing resource. We do need this. It's, you know, because it's not a condition that we know about. It's number 2 on the neurologist hit list, but nobody knows about it. It affects women more than men. It's just, that's the statistics. But as I was going through all these different emotions, and when I had a collapse or it was the pain was too bad, I would write these little blog entries, sometimes small, sometimes long. And I know from the comments I've got back, the first year got 3,000 plus reads. And I said, I help people. I help people by just writing about that. And I haven't looked at the 2-year stats because they're coming up actually about now. But all I know is people just occasionally drop me a message and say thank you. Or I do quote a lot on Facebook FND groups because they're so confused. They say, oh, what the heck's happened? What now? And then I say, read my blog. You can dip in and out because each section or each chapter is a standalone statement of something, with the exception of the first 3 or 4, maybe 10 blogs, because they all merged into when I was in hospital, what they did, and etc. But it's done in non-medical terms. I kept that to a minimum, and people loved it. And I want to, as my goal next year, is put that into an ebook so that everybody in the world, every neurologist has that, say, go and have a read. Yes, I want some printed.
It's like a handbook, really, isn't it?
Yep. So they can read it. Yes. It's needed. And I've met an amazing set of people who online about FND. It's just amazing. So that gives me encouragement to do more writing. I stopped last December, January time because I was out of ideas and I would just be repeating myself. So I had to give myself almost a year off. But I've got to write some stuff now of going to the Paralympics and a few other bits and pieces so that it will help people come around to, you're not useless. You can do stuff. And that's what I've seen in all these photographs I've taken. It doesn't matter what your disability is. I've got people who are quadriplegic and all they can do is move their head or their hand enough to move their wheelchair around. But they're playing bocce at Paralympic level. And they are loving it every single minute. So I'm going to get a set of flashcards of some description. And when I want to go around to these disabled rehab centers or whatever and put them up, but I'm going to say, if I give a talk or something, which I would like to do, I said, well, hang on a minute. Look, this lady hasn't got any arms or legs. She's doing this. They've got this problem. They got that problem. So what's your complaint? And it will shut 99% of people up.
Yeah.
But then it's encouraging them that they've got to look beyond the disability. Because as I'm
Yeah.
speaking to you, I've sat down for almost an hour and my legs are starting to seize up.
Yeah.
And I will have to end this in a minute because of that, because they start to hurt, but otherwise you see me as a normal person. But I have my limitations and I know what they are. But
I
every
think that's the
disabled,
key thing, really, isn't it?
sorry?
Knowing where you, I think it's the key thing there, isn't it? It's knowing where your boundaries are, making sure that you can stick to that.
Yes, but you've also got to stay away from negative people.
Yeah.
When I went to do travel after the post office and said I'm going for at least a year, maybe longer, may never come back, I had sort of about 3 or 4 camps of people, some encouraging you to go, some said you'll be back in 3 months, oh, it will never last, and some people actually don't want to talk to you because they haven't thought of that
Wow.
amazing thing. And my old boss, he said, no, you'll be back. You love it here too much. I said, well, yes, I do, but no. So I sent him a postcard from Nepal, which is about the most landlocked place you can get to, and then another one in Wellington, New Zealand, about as far as where you can get from the UK. And I said, I'm still traveling. And I heard back, and he said,
Still
yeah,
going.
I'm doing crazy stuff, but you've only got one life. So I think I've been given a second life. When you hear people who've done in through a big accident or something, and they feel they've been given a second life.
Yeah.
That's basically, and I found my niche in photography. And with the results of what I've got in my portfolio at the moment, I've actually spoken to the head of press association, and he does a lot of the editing and things like that, and all the stories he looks at, and he looks at my photographs and he said, "Wow, okay, these are good. Yeah, we want to use you at some stage, etc." And I mean, that is about as big as praise as you can get. The biggest press agency saying, "Yeah," and he only saw, I think, 4 photographs,
So
and that was
you're on a
enough.
roll there.
I'm
I
on a roll.
maybe just thinking of time. Maybe the key thing here to summarize this all in one phrase is just don't give up. Really.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of posters out there with "Don't give up," and I am going to be
Yeah.
doing some AI art and other things with my photographs with a motivational quote at the bottom, so
Yeah.
that I want some other mentor that, again, by random I met, and he used to go into gyms, etc., to sell something. I can't remember, but he said we would love to see those images up in the gyms, the rehab centers, with the motivational messages, because if you're doing repetitive stuff, you find it boring. You've got to have the motivation. So if you've got a collage of people who have done it or are doing it, etc., whatever, you say, well, I want to be at least as good as that person. Right. That's your
It's
goal.
proof that you can do it, isn't it?
Yes.
Someone else
So,
done it, you can do it.
yeah, we, as disabled people, we want to do as much as the able bodied person, but our body says no to a lot of the things. But we do other things, that you don't see because it's not in the mainstream. I'm going to bring that out. And I've made a good set of contacts in the last 6 to 8 months where I'm now being invited to various places. I had lunch with a few at the House of Lords with the Disability Policy Committee, etc. And that to me was wonderful. They invited me along on. I spoke to them on the Thursday. I was there on the Monday or the Tuesday with an invite, and it was just wow. So yes, I am opening doors, and everybody I show the photographs to, is just saying, yeah, I like those. Now we've got to sell them.
I've
That is the hard bit.
to say, I've got to say, when your book comes out, I hope I can get a signed an autographed one.
Yes, the book is going to, yeah, the book is going to be on the journey with photographs. But before that, that's next year, you can buy a Paralympic issue of Disabled Sports and a calendar this year. They were available roughly mid-November.
Perfect.
It's
I would
60,
definitely be on the lookout for those, and I think anybody watching this will certainly be on the lookout too. Anyway, I think our time is up.
Yes, it is.
So thank you, Michael, for coming and talking to us, especially now that you're saying your legs are starting to cease. So anybody interested in reading more about Michael's journey, it has a website, which is I believe www.aphotographerwithfnd.com.
That's my
we'll provide the link.
That's my effect. And then there is the disabilitysportsnetwork.com. That is where all my photographs go up, and there'll be links to larger galleries within those blog posts, but it will tell you what I did or what the game was, etc. And you can always email me, and I'd love to take photographs at your next event. So come and talk to me.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. This has been a brilliant
Well, thank you for having me on.
Great.